Warning, we're going to be discussing events for currently running weekly anime.
If you want to avoid spoilers for certain shows, there are timestamps in the description.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Timesink Anime Podcast.
What kind of voice is that?
It's like a cheesy announcer, like in Whose Line, you know? Please accept my condolences! How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to the Timesink Anime Podcast. I'm Jay, and this is my co-host, Rex.
Hello. I wonder, how that voice could be used in situations to make people feel better. You feel like you're in a hospital, and the doctor's like, "Sir, I'm sorry. I have some bad news for you."
But I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to have this guy tell you.
And you got stage 2 cancer. Congratulations!
Congratulations! You've won 2 months of painful chemotherapy. Wow, I actually feel kind of bad. This is really dark. So anyway, week 7, I was about to say spring.
Week 7, summer 2019.
Yeah, summer 2019.
So I've been, I have on my desk, I borrowed the Brawly movie recently from a friend, 2 weeks ago, I think. And every weekend I'm like, man, I should really watch that. I was just sitting there.
Is this going to be the inspiring story of how you finally overcame all adversity and finally watched it, or is it going to be how you're a lazy, or is it going to be how you're a lazy piece of shit and you still haven't watched it?
Yeah, it's still there. The Blu-ray sitting on my desk. Every time I open my door, I'm like, yep, that's still there. so judgmental. I feel like it's judging me.
Yeah, eventually, it just it'd be hilarious if you open the door and it'd be changing positions and stuff, like in the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you blink and it's right in front of you. It's like, oh shit.
I've heard it's really good. Obvious blah 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 voice actor issues aside. Who cares?
Yeah. We're not going to go into that.
That wouldn't really take away from the enjoyment of the movie for me. But we just with the moving we've been doing, and I haven't been able to watch as much anime as we have wanted to this season already.
Yeah.
It's just hard to get around to the time to watching that.
And also just kind of being, I don't know about you, I've personally also been distracted by other things. With us wanting to move to a new place and stuff like that. But then I recently fell back into the hole that is Fire Emblem. Mm-hmm. Not the new Fire Emblem, mind you, which is out right now. I've been playing one of the older Fire Emblems and bashing my head against the wall trying to beat the same damn mission for a few days.
How have you been playing it? On a GBA with a legit legal cartridge?
No. No, I've been using an emulator, I'll admit that for this.
It's like Alcoholic Anonymous meeting.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Jay, and I've been using emulators illegally for 5 years now.
Hi, Jay.
That's kind of funny because I'm playing the new one. I'm playing Three Houses on my Switch right now.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of funny that we're both kind of binging a lot of Fire Emblem from different generations.
Yeah. Because but we're nowhere near the level of binging this game as one of our other friends.
Yeah, that's just too much for me.
I like Fire Emblem. Don't get me wrong. I like Fire Emblem a lot, actually. But I haven't played every game in the series.
Yeah.
But
so the game's been on 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
something like that. 2-3 weeks.
I think 3 weeks. The game's been out for 3 weeks. We have a friend that's, I think he has over 100 hours on it. He's beaten 2 of the storylines.
Which, Jesus Christ,
that's nothing but Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Call me a casual, but I have a hard time spending that much time on any one thing.
I'd say the closest I've come to doing that is Persona.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that a while back when it was out.
Yeah, exactly.
We spent so much time on that.
Yeah.
But on a related topic to not being able to watch enough anime, or as much anime as we've meant to, because, all the things, we're not going to be doing our mid-season review this season, because we haven't really watched enough stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm caught up on everything we're talking about, but also I'm caught up on Demon Girl Next Door and
Grandma. Yeah. Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before we started recording.
And you're caught up on
nothing
else besides
besides
watching.
the 6 shows, and I've been like chunking away actually at like Kimi no Todoke, the 2nd season, which I'm really enjoying. It's a pleasant little show. I like it so far.
So news this week. I've only got one thing that caught my attention, and it's Toonami is going to be premiering Dr. Stone on August 24th.
Awesome.
Which is, I mean, it's a cool little tidbit of information, but it brings up an interesting talking point of that Toonami has been getting more and more anime as it's releasing, like really quickly. People were thinking that Toonami was going to come back and just kind of be this fringe thing that people would watch every Saturday or whatever, and just kind of got a cult following.
Yeah.
But they're getting seasonal anime as it's airing.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty nuts, actually.
Yeah, no, that is a really good point. I didn't even stop to consider that, because I was one of the people who when they announced that Toonami was coming back, like, or they thought about it when they did that as an April Fool's joke, I was like, okay, Toonami was such a big part of my childhood. I was one of the, like, thousands of people, I'm sure, who emailed basically saying,
the petition.
bring Toonami back. I'll admit that I didn't have cable and stuff like that, so I haven't been able to watch as much Toonami. Despite
I don't watch it either. I'm really glad it exists because
me
it's
too.
great for the Western anime.
Absolutely. Toonami got a lot of people into anime, and I'm glad that it's interesting to see something that was so revered in our childhood actually come back and come back strong.
Better than ever.
Yeah, exactly.
I wonder if they stream it at all. Because I think I'd probably be interested in just like turning on a stream or something on Saturday. Because I don't fucking watch cable anymore. I watch like Netflix and YouTube and Crunchyroll. And...
Yeah, I'm one of those dirty millennials who's killing the cable industry. Even though I use internet, cable internet.
The cable industry killed themselves by getting too cocky about. They're like, people are never stop using cable. Let's just keep putting fucking bills on bills on bills.
It's sort of like that episode of South Park. Have you seen the one about that was making fun of cable companies?
No.
So basically, what happens is because a lot of people who have ever had to deal with cable companies usually will call in customer service, and the customer and cable companies will not care. This has been a kind of a long running joke. So South Park, where the customer service, they would have like a guy saying, "Oh, your cable's got fuzz, huh? That's too bad." It shows like the guy on the other end.
Oh yeah, I have seen clips of that.
Yeah, that thing. Yeah. And then there was another comedian, John Caparulo, was talking about that. It's like, yeah, we can't come out tonight. We can come out on Monday between 10 a.m. and Thursday. You gonna be home?
Yeah, cable is the thing of the past.
Yeah,
in my opinion. But I'm glad that Toonami is doing super well because they have
Promise. They got Promise Neverland.
Is Promise Neverland still going right now?
I don't know if it's still going, but that was a big deal when it came out.
Well, I know they have Fire Force and Dr. Stone right now.
Yeah,
as currently running shows. I think they have I think they're running JoJo's Golden Wind at the moment.
That wouldn't be surprising because they ran pretty much every other thing of JoJo.
They might not though. Don't quote me on that.
Now, if they do, just leave a comment.
Yeah.
Like, if you guys are watching Toonami, just let us know. We're actually very interested to see what's happening in Cable Land. But anyway, so enough of our ranting and raving about various shit that doesn't matter. Let's get into the shit that does matter. Starting us off, Demon Slayer. This was a great follow-up, I think, to a really, really climactic episode.
Yeah, it was a good wind down.
Yeah, and that's what it feels like. It feels like a kind of winding down of the arc, really.
Because they did a really good job still putting in enough action in this episode, but it was it was ramping down a little bit.
Yeah,
because obviously that last climactic freaking amazing episode.
Yeah, I think we're not splitting any hairs here or making any controversial statements. I'm pretty sure everybody agrees with this sentiment, even if you haven't watched the show.
I'm sure there's a few contrarians who are like, it's actually not that great.
Yeah, no, fuck those people. All right. It's UFO Table. They've kind of maybe gotten a little bit of hype behind how gorgeous their animated set pieces are and stuff like that. But yeah, this most recent episode, it seems almost to be universally loved. But this most recent episode just feels like a nice winding down for what we've been.
I will say right away that this is the first demon flashback that I've been genuinely really interested in. And I think that's because we've got to see more of this character, the youngest spider guy.
Yeah, Rui.
And it's just because most of the time the flashbacks are just like he cuts off their head, play flashback.
Yeah.
We didn't really get a chance to know them at all. And it's also interesting that like it was relating to what recently happened. It wasn't just like, oh, back before I became a demon.
Now, and I will say that those before I think were kind of more to highlight Tanjiro in his compassion for other demons more than highlight the demons themselves, I think. And because the first one, the really big demon that got on the mountain where they did their training, or when they first became a member of the Demon Corps.
All the hands?
Yeah, exactly, and he cut his hand off, and then basically it was that little flashback and him just holding out his hand, and then Tanjiro basically reaching out for his hand and holding it like his big brother would. That was more, I think, to show Tanjiro's compassion more than anything else, which I personally liked. But this is the first time we've ever had like a really like in-depth story about like just how screwed up demon society can be at times. Like, and the fact that we're showing it through not the perspective of Rui himself, but somebody he directly associated with, it kind of makes it a little bit more nuanced, I guess. Because we'd already kind of known what Rui's motivations and stuff were already from like context clues and how he acted. Here we got to see like direct those actions in play, like how he went about it, why exactly he went about it, stuff like that. It didn't narrate over them for us though, but they still showed us a pretty interesting and pretty messed up story. Like the scene when he's like, okay, time to add the finishing touches, and he basically like rips off her face.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to watch.
Yeah, and then anytime he just gets pissed, anytime they revert back to their natural form, that's just really disturbing.
I thought they told us just enough.
Yeah, exactly.
About that whole situation. Shinobu.
One
of my new favorite characters.
Shinobu is fucking scary.
The voice actress, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but she does such a good job of being this like saying really creepy things in a very happy-go-lucky tone.
See, and that's the thing about Shinobu. Like, I think she earnestly believes 100% of the things she's saying.
Yeah.
Like, she, like, legitimately... I think on some level, she legitimately wants to get for demons and humans to be able to get along. But
first they have to go through...
But first they have...
But first, repenting.
Yeah, and I think... And she 100% believes that. And I think that's what makes her so fucking scary.
Yeah.
Well... You know, that and being able to apparently create a poison by yourself. Yeah,
well, no, I don't think she makes it herself. She makes it with the help of her swordsmith.
Well, no, that's how she hid it that's how she got it in her hilt. She was the one who originally devised the poison.
She's a pharmaceutical.
Yeah, she's a pharmaceutical expert.
Yeah, as she clearly said, I think multiple times.
Yeah.
I think that was a really good way to bring her in to save...
Zenitsu,
yeah.
Oh, and that is really cool how they went about it. I also love the effect of her cloak when she was moving around really quickly, how it did look like a butterfly, like flapping about. That was really fascinating shit.
Yeah, I think there's part of her illusions probably have something to do with her cloak itself.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably just her cloak and moving really fast that makes it look like there's like butterflies around.
Yeah, it's kind of like a gypsy moth and how they scare the fuck out of birds with their wing pattern on their back. It's kind of like that same kind of principle anyway. And she's the bug breather, so to speak.
Yeah, bug breathing.
Yeah, which apparently there's even more types. Like, I'm not disappointed. It's actually a pretty interesting way of going about it, but it's like, how do they come up with some of these breathing types? Because there are the obvious elements. Fire, earth, wind, and air, and water. But then you have thunder, which I was like, okay, that's cool. But then there's bug. It's like, the hell?
I love it. It's a really cool power system.
No, I like it too. I'm not saying that I don't. I'm just like, huh, that's interesting. And it does give some variety.
Mm-hmm. And I really like that there is the people that use the breathing techniques, and then there's demon that use blood arts.
Yeah.
Which is demon blood arts, I think they're called.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. It makes me kind of curious to see if there's maybe going to be a character later on that uses like demon blood breathing or something. That'd be pretty kick-ass.
Yeah, no, that would be pretty kick-ass. Like, I don't know everything about this series. Like, I looked up some of the stuff just so I could remember, these characters' names, like Shinobu being one of them, and then Tomioka, I believe, the other character,
the water-breathing guy.
Yeah, the one who basically more or less recruited Tanjiro.
Yeah, I think bringing Shinobu and what's his name?
Tomioka, I think.
Tomioka, bringing those two in was a really good power, like a reveal of power, because we have the main character.
Yeah, we have Tanjiro,
who
is proven to be strong.
Yeah, really strong and really smart, and he thinks through things. But by bringing these two higher level people, it just kind of shows how much more he has left to go.
Yeah, it's a really good way of theming, especially considering Tomioka uses the same type of breathing he does. It's kind of like Egoraptor's sequelitis when he's talking about Mega Man X. Like, the whole thing is basically becoming like Zero. Like, this is how strong he can become.
Like, that's what Tanjiro's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's really cool how they do that. And I want to just say that Tomioka's perfect calm technique was spooky.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just like how everything just goes, like, kind of quiet and sort of dead, it feels like.
And it's incredibly minimalistic maneuvering.
Yeah.
He just kind of just steps up to him and just cuts his head off, like, really slowly.
It kind of really slowly but really quickly, too. Like, it's kind of a weird contradiction.
Like, gently.
Yeah, like, just...
It's kind of like when Tanjiro decapitated the mom.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The thing about that is, it reminded me, like, you've seen Bleach before, at least the earlier episodes before it completely went to shit. It kind of reminded me, or this whole sequence reminded me a lot of when Ichigo first met Renji and Byakuya, and then Byakuya, quote-unquote, killed him, and he basically, like, hit him twice, one time severing his soul chain in one of those strikes, and it didn't even look like he moved at all. It just reminded me of that, and I thought it was really
like
cool.
when they draw their sword and put it back, and you see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was really well animated, too, because I think there's... it's really hard to do that well, because if you do it bad, it just looks like they didn't do anything. Like, they pulled the sword out and put it back. But you really have to put just enough motion in to really simulate, like, oh, wow, I think he just did something, but I didn't see it.
Yeah, because he's moving that quickly. This just feels like a really appropriate place to kind of wind down the arc. I think next episode will be the official conclusion to it, so to speak, because...
This was episode 20?
Yeah.
I believe, and there's 24.
So maybe there's enough for a 3 episodes or more or so.
I think it's... I don't know how they could just make the next 4 episodes just like slice of life calm kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think so Rui is probably dead.
Yeah. Which that was fucking cheap when we figure out that.
Oh yeah, I cut my own head off.
Yeah, like, and I put it back on with spider thread with the spider threads.
It feels reasonable.
It does, but I'm just like, oh, that's so disappointing, because after that epic display from Tanjiro, it just is like, oh man, that's just rough. Like, after such a satisfying climactic moment, it's like it's it's basically snatched from you at the last possible second.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. I think they might put in another tiny. There's gonna be another, I think, action part in the next 4 episodes. Maybe it's gonna be like training or something.
Probably. Like, they're probably gonna end up getting their swords fixed.
Oh yeah, that's true. I forgot his sword is broken. Both their swords are broken.
Yeah, but not Zenitsu. Zenitsu's sword, I think, is still functional.
Yeah, just Inosuke and Tanjiro's swords.
Well, to be fair, Inosuke's swords were always broken, but
yeah, there's like saw blades.
Yeah, exactly.
So next up is Dr. Stone.
So I'll get this out of the way first. I'm kind of going to miss the fact that Taiju isn't as part of a driving force of the narrative at the moment. Because, like, I legitimately enjoyed what Taiju contributed to the series. Like, the two of them as a duo had good chemistry. Their banter was really engaging and fun, and what they represented as a team was, I think, just a fascinating dynamic. It was a cool dynamic.
Brains and brawn boiled down to like the simplest.
Yeah, and it was. I really personally liked it. It was a cool concept. That being said, the new cast of characters they're bringing in, Holy crap, are they a lot of fun.
Yeah, I do believe we talked about this already, but
Yeah.
in the manga, there was the point where the series was about to fail. So Taiju was originally a main character, but he's just like, okay, Senku's much more interesting. We're going to make him the main character and completely change the story.
Yeah.
And this is the point where they did that in the manga. They had those characters separate while still keeping Taiju and Yuzuriha. Like, they separated in a really well done way.
Yeah.
Because he sent them off to not have to put them in the story anymore. Probably not very much, anyways.
Maybe they'll bring him back later.
Yeah,
Maybe
but he didn't just throw them away. He was
Yeah.
like, okay, you guys go here. This is your job. Because now that Tsukasa thinks that Tanjiro is, or not Tanjiro, Senku's dead, then they can just go there and be like, yeah, he's dead. We're just going to join you.
Yeah, exactly.
And this, while I did really enjoy Taiju and Senku's banter,
and
I think
friendship.
what we're losing is less than we're gaining, because this whole cast just looks so good.
So, and special note, and I think this, like, everybody on KITSU agrees with this. Special note to Chrome. Chrome is a lot of fun. He's basically like he's more or less Taiji's replacement. He's similar but different. He has that same kind of
personality.
Yeah, he's kind of a goofball. He's not like, he isn't the most bright or anything like that, but he's very high energy and just a lot of fun. But they're similar, but they're also different, because this is a kid who, because whereas Senku and Taiju were more like old friends, which they illustrated that constantly with how they bantered, this is kind of more similar to what I personally think sort of a master apprentice sort of situation.
Oh yeah, that's definitely how it's going to happen.
Or as other people are pointing out, it's more of a big brother, little brother type situation, with Senku being the big brother, because it's like, I'm going to show you everything I know, little bro, pretty much.
Yeah, I loved how Senku put it when he's saying, Tsukasa, you can go ahead and kill me, but some stupid kid is just going to come up and try everything.
And he found that stupid kid who tried There's always some idiot who will try anything. Yeah, that is true. I hadn't even considered that. That's a really good point.
And it was really interesting how when Senku sits him down and tells him everything about, like, science before the whole stone event. He didn't take any moment to say, like, that's silly, or how could that happen? His immediate knee-jerk reaction was, how could we lose all that science?
Yeah, he was absolutely 100% enthralled by it. Like he was just waiting, like, sounded like so distant, but so amazing and so possible. And he broke down crying because he just thought it was such a beautiful and amazing concept, and how could we lose that? It was such a cool moment. And plus the fact that it was mainly just music and visual storytelling, like him basically cataloging like all the major events that happened, like us going to the moon and stuff like that. Just all those little things. It was a really good example of visual storytelling done well here. And Chrome is an easily enjoyable character. And so is Ninja Girl. I don't remember her name right off the top of my head.
She walks up, he's like, oh, well, you want to fight here? You got 2-on-1. I mean, you got an advantage.
Yeah. And then he was like, nope, we're getting out of this.
Shows how much of a badass she is.
Yeah, I really like her. I am her older sister, or older twin sister.
It's older sister.
Yeah. But they look like twins. They look about the same age, so maybe one was born before the other, because, I mean, that's relatively common.
Yeah, or it's anime.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I like how she's the priestess, and there's a very clear goal of what Senku is trying to do here and how he's going to do it. It's like, the priestess is sick, and she is convinced she's going to die. So, I'm going to make antibiotics.
I have a question from, like, a scientific perspective. So, you know how diseases mutate?
Yeah.
And they change. It's been fucking, was it like 200,000 years?
3,700.
3,700 years?
Yeah.
The medicine he knows to fix, like, the common cold or whatever, I feel like it might require different things.
Possibly, but there's also...
I guess antibiotics are kind of a catch-all.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, antibiotics are more to solve bacterial and not viral infections.
Yeah, that's true.
But that being said, I think that the problem is bacteria and viruses will adapt according to their surroundings. If humans have kind of been largely taken out of the equation, and they have no way of actually surviving anymore, they might just die off and things might change. Sure. Also, like antibiotic strain, like it's complicated, but there are antibiotic resistant strains of viruses because we overused antibiotics on some things like tuberculosis. Just like, oh, you got tuberculosis? Here, have some antibiotics. Here, have some more antibiotics. And we thought we'd wiped it out. We didn't. And then they came back with a strain that was antibiotic resistant.
Yeah, so I'd be really interested in seeing if he's just going to be able to make a medicine that's going to work on the first try, or if it's going to be more of a trial.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
I'm curious about that too. Knowing, like, I don't imagine it's going to work right out of the gate. Like, and I imagine that Chrome is probably going to be his test dummy because he's already kind of admitted to trying some of these plants and stuff on himself. Probably not by ingesting them directly. Probably by doing what they showed us in Are You Lost by placing it on placing it on their skin or something, which I imagine that's what he did. Like,
try everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess we'll see. So next up on our list, Fire Force. Was not a fan of this episode.
Yeah, it was. They hit a couple cool notes.
It was the best way I can describe it is the setup was like a raging inferno. The payoff was like a sizzle. It was like sizzling embers.
Yeah, because they built up Hibana as I was really interested when she was discussing with the sister.
Yeah,
talking about how like her faith pretty much just left.
Yeah,
when everyone caught on fire, but she survived. And it was building her up as this really badass, crazy character, and I really, really liked it.
Yeah.
But they threw all that out the window at the end of the episode where they're like, haha, you beat me, I like you now.
Yeah, I think that I personally felt there was like no that's the biggest problem. I wouldn't have minded like the idea that she is potentially going to reform now, like that she got her ass kicked. If there were actually some legitimate consequences, like her like going away for a while or something to reflect on her actions, going to prison or something like that, like just some consequences, but there were like no consequences, and it feels kind of not earned. Like a heel turn like this does not feel earned at this point.
Yeah.
Like just based on what we've seen. On top of that, the fact that Iris had almost nothing to do with actually beating her, and Shinra just like, and I know this is a shonen battle series, but Shinra figuring out a way to beat her just felt like way too much shonen BS.
Yeah,
like I'm just gonna,
like, oh, I'm using my thing to make you dizzy, and he's just like, well,
oh, it's all in my head.
Fight through it, I guess.
Yeah, it just felt like total shonen BS, and unlike and we talked about this a little bit, unlike like early episodes of Index where it was mainly Toma stalling for time until he figured out how they fought and how their abilities were, and kind of like figuring out how to get that one punch in, figure out how he can get close enough. It wasn't so much that as him just going, oh, that's how it works? Oh, I guess I know immediately how to counter it. It wasn't him like stalling for time.
This was like a bad version of that.
Yeah, exactly. Which
it's just like, oh, I'm going to say a few things to get you off balance and then punch you.
Or kick you, I guess.
Oh, he punched her in the face.
Oh, he did. That's right.
Yeah, he gave her the Toma special.
Yeah. The other problem I have with this entire thing is they were emphasizing how big of a deal the relationship between Iris and Hibana was. Just like, because and I thought that was fascinating, by the way, because they kind of cemented sort of like a Batman and Joker situation, like kind of a relationship or dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, whereas, like, they were both the product of one bad day, but then whereas one is trying to work desperately hard to figure out and make sense of it all, that would be Iris in this situation, Hibana completely surrendered herself to the insanity and said, no, there is no meaning to any of this. I'm just gonna submit to it and just not care about anything. To hell with everyone and everything. It would have felt more appropriate if Iris actually had more to do with how Hibana was beaten in the end, but she contributed almost nothing. Yeah, it feels like she kind of just sat in the corner.
They could have had Iris end up being the one to distract her, so that Shinra could land the final blow.
Yeah, like her, like kind of seeing her like kind of begging, like, or seeing her like kind of crying or something, just trying enough to kind of remind her of like times that had gone by, like her. It would have been a lot more rewarding in that situation, but she contributed almost nothing. She was like a damsel that he needed to save, And that wasn't any fun.
Not at all. It's kind of a boring character. I was really interested in Iris's backstory.
And I like her backstory.
Yeah, I know. And she obviously she's not a fighter.
Yeah, I get that. That's fine.
Yeah, just her being like an ass to save. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels kind of like later Bleach episodes with how they do that shit.
I will say though the sequence where she used the Sakura tree.
Oh, that was
really cool visually.
That was really cool and also really tragic when you think about it, because like what's the thing in like one of her flashbacks they highlight the most? A big ass Sakura tree outside the orphanage. That's pretty fucked up, actually. I thought that was a really cool way of incorporating kind of elements of her past and how she can't entirely let go of it.
I really hope this is just a stumble.
Yeah, I think so.
Because, like, it's happened before, obviously. We've had, like, 1 or 2 episode stumbles, and then the rest of the show is great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really, really hope this is, because this is easily my favorite opening of the season.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so
Burnout Syndrome. Wait, is it Burnout Syndromes?
I don't remember what the song is called, but... It's such a good opening, like it's a self-contained story.
Oh, yeah.
And the song is really good, too.
Miss Green Apple. Yeah, that's a really good song. But
yeah, I really hope next week is better.
Yeah, this just felt like a sort of a really unfulfilling conclusion.
Oh, I really like the gag at the end.
Oh, that was
Captain's
really...
looking all dramatic, and he's like, I'm ready. I'll be over there soon.
Oh, wait, it's already over? Yeah, because he spent way too much time preparing. And, okay, I kind of get that this is from the maker of Soul Eater. They kind of have, like, kind of zany humor every once in a while. Like, that's just how Soul Eater did. But at the same time, it felt a little bit too cheesy and unfulfilling, like, with how just immediately heel-turned Hibana was at the very end. So,
next up is Fruits Basket.
Hiro Soma. Oh
my god,
this
is love such a roller coaster.
I like his character. Don't get me wrong. Like, I was just like, every moment he was on screen, I was just kind of smiling just because he was so...
The writing is really good there.
Because he was just so bitingly sarcastic and just downright... he was just a shitty kid. But and sometimes I'll admit I was smiling just because of how uncomfortable it was. Just like...
Yeah, go ahead and hit me. Go to jail for child abuse.
Yeah, he's such an unrepentant little brat, and I loved every second of it.
So I started off, as soon as he showed up, I was like, okay, I hate him. And then they showed a little bit of his backstory. It's like, oh, I kind of feel bad for him. And then I hate him again. And then eventually we come to realize that he's such an asshole just because he's a product of the Soma clan.
Yeah, he's also
a kid.
Yeah, he's also just... And he recognizes that, which I think is a really nice moment of self-reflection or self-realization. And just like, yeah, I've still got a lot of growing up to do. Like, and he recognizes that, which is rare for a character like that. He's actually kind of like a young Kyo, which the series has, other characters have
a little bit more of an asshole.
Yeah.
Like verbally anyways.
Yeah. But, I don't know. We don't know how Kyo was when he was a kid. He could have been just as much of a kind of berating asshole, but he's about as... I say he's like a young Kyo because he's about as much as a male Sindre as you can get.
Yeah.
How he dotes on Kisa.
When they showed the part where where they revealed that he was jealous.
Yeah.
Of
Toru.
Toru. It really clicked in my head, like, okay, this is why he's been doing all this. He's a kid.
Yeah.
When kids are jealous, they act out, obviously, and
because they're dealing with complex emotions that they really don't know how to process.
And then you compound that with the fact that he caused, or I wouldn't say he caused. That's not fair. What he said ended up with
Kisa getting hurt
by
Akito.
Akito, yeah, and it just everything I hear about Akito really makes me hate him more and more.
And this is a thing that just points out just how much of a reprehensible human being Akito is. Because unlike with Hattori or Yuki in the past, this was a lot more devious and calculated. Like, this wasn't like lashing out directly at a kid or directly at Hiro. it was lashing out at the person, at the object of his affection, hitting him where it really hurts. Basically trying to manipulate him and basically say, you see what happens? You see this? You did this. It's a lot more devious and indirect and I personally think a lot more repugnant in that regard because this is a 10-year-old child, pretty much.
I really don't know how they will ever redeem Akito, if they even plan on it. Like, I don't see how it could be possible.
Yeah.
Because I don't see any reason good enough for him to do all these things to all these people.
I'm still not sure if Akito's a him. I personally think it might
them,
be. Yeah.
Whatever.
But anyway, I'm pretty sure we'll find that out eventually. But I think it's kind of. But yeah, like I was saying, that was a lot more of a repugnant action. That's probably the worst thing I think I've seen Akito do at this point.
Yeah,
and
just
Akito's
beat a child.
Yeah, beat a child just to make another child feel guilty. That's pretty messed up.
I like the ending.
Oh,
of
yeah.
This episode a lot. Just a hero kind of coming to terms with emotions, realizing that Toru really is just this nice person.
Yeah, she's a bit of an airhead, but she's done a lot of really good things. She's not really even trying to, is the thing. I think she's just being a legitimate, like...
Yeah, she's being true to her ideals.
Yeah, she's just being a good person. Just
and her
for the
values.
Sake of, just for the sake of being a good person. There's no, like, ulterior motives or anything. And she's not really even trying to help people. They just kind of are helped by just being around her.
She wants people to be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is really, which I thought was a really cool way of resolving that entire bit. And she even acknowledges how adorable his crush is. Like he's kind of a like he's got a crush in the most adorable, and he's expressing it in the most adorable way possible. If by adorable you mean verbally abusive towards you, which
I really hope that they don't just 180 his character and make him really nice. I really hope he's just still an asshole.
Yeah, I still want him to be like a snarky little brat.
Yeah, like obviously not as much.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
but still, yeah, that's.
But yeah, he's a kid, but he's really smart for his age. He's pretty wise beyond his years.
Pretty forced too, I think.
Yeah, I agree, because he kind of had to force himself to grow up, which I think that in and of itself is sad. The Soma clan just continues to just prove how shitty they are as people. And I don't even think we've scratched the surface. I am absolutely 100% looking forward to seeing how Hatori and Shigure are going to basically make Akito suffer for what they've done.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot happening, I feel like. I think they're taking this first season to introduce all the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and slowly build up the cast, kind of make you feel for Toru.
Yeah.
Realize what kind of character she is. And I think the second season is probably where we're going to start getting into the deeper plot of the Soma family.
Absolutely. So next up on our list, Oh Maidens in Your Savage Season. Just when I thought that this series couldn't get more adorably uncomfortable, it just continues to press on that. And I say that because this series is just setting up a lot of really fascinating self-contained stories with these girls, but then it's also resolving them and making just some of the more, just touching on some really uncomfortable topics. Like, I know I've said this pretty much ad nauseum. Hongo's came to a head this week, and I thought that was super uncomfortable. Like, her basically trying to intentionally seduce her teacher, and
backfiring.
Yeah, and him not going for it. I was worried for a second. It's like, oh shit, is this going to be one of those?
I still think it's possible that he's going to end up getting. Yeah.
I hope not.
Because he's hesitating. It looks like.
I think that he's more just trying to prove a point that she's still just a child. Like, I think that's more what he's going for. Like, she's still a child, and until she learns about this stuff, like, in a more healthy way, then she's always going to be a child. I think that's more what it is.
But do you know the kind of show this is?
Yeah.
Like, so Momoko, pretty much confirmed lesbian at this point.
Okay, like, this episode, like, pretty much spelled it out for everyone. Yeah. It's obvious pretty much to everyone now, except Momoko. I think Momoko is the only person who's not aware that she's a
girls
lesbian.
are so much prettier. Why are we with boys?
Yeah, and then even saying, like, she's, like, Sugawara's the prettiest boy I've ever seen, and even Sonozaki going, huh?
There was a, 1 second part near the end where I think it was going through what the girls were doing. Momoko puts a shirt onto Sugawara, and she kind of stops and stares at her neck.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wow.
Yeah, so, Momoko is most definitely confirmed to be a lesbian at this point.
I think is a really good angle to take here for one of the characters.
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of expecting that. I was hoping for it, and I'm glad that they're showing that it is a process of discovery.
1 in 5 girls is a lesbian.
Look
to your left. Look to your right. One of those people may be a lesbian.
Yeah, you might marry a lesbian. But I think that the really cool thing they're doing about it is showing that it is that not every person has this all figured out from the get-go. It is very much a process of discovery, and not even always a cut and dry process either. Her dealing with an incredibly annoying, boorish guy.
Oh yeah.
I don't
contacting her.
I don't like that guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad kid. I think he's just a kid.
He's a dumb fucking kid.
He's a dumb teenage boy.
Yeah, but
I still have a bad taste in my mouth from the whole I paid for your meal.
Yeah,
situation.
It's such a cringe. It's some of those things that you look back on and think oh shit, did I ever do that as a teenage boy? I probably did.
I think it's honestly good for Momoko that he's not a good boyfriend.
Yeah.
Because it's helping her realize that she doesn't like boys.
Yeah, I think so. And they only went on, I wouldn't necessarily call them boyfriend and girlfriend because they only went out on really one date.
I think they're kind of dating. I don't understand teenage politics.
I don't either. But anyway, the other thing that kind of left a sort of awkward taste in my mouth was Sonozaki. Because 1 minute I'm absolutely in love with just how adorable her
how she's being just a teenage girl.
Yeah, how adorable her big dumb smile is when she's looking at the text messages from her boyfriend. And the next minute, just going into this complete holier than thou monologue.
Yeah.
Just because I have a boyfriend now, I'm suddenly the master of relationships and nobody else gets them but me. Just oh god. And then immediately subverting that with kind of just treating treating this guy coldly in public. I feel bad for this guy.
So in her head, she's thinking oh, it's fine. I'll make it up later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure it's really weighing on this guy.
He's legitimately thinking she doesn't want to be with him.
All right. And that's not at all how she sees it.
She's not letting him in on her plans, what she's actually planning on doing, which she very much should do. At the very least, and say just communicate with her, because I get where she's coming from and why exactly she's doing what she's doing. She's never had much confidence in herself and stuff like that, and she thinks it's possibly just going to make people laugh at her, or even worse, laugh at him now. And I don't think she necessarily wants that, so she's basically trying to keep some degree of distance until she feels the time is right. Mm-hmm. I get that. I don't necessarily agree with or respect how she's approaching it, but I get it.
Throw him a bone.
Yeah, exactly. And then getting into more the sort of the love triangle now, because it's official. We've got a love triangle.
I was so worried about this.
I don't think that it's handled. I don't think it's handled poorly.
No. I wasn't worried about the writing. I was just worried about Sugawara ending up liking him.
Yeah,
because it's I like. She's supporting Kazusa and pushing her towards it, but then she also likes him. I don't think she's going to go for it.
Yeah.
But also she might, because she has a really shitty role model.
Oh, God, yeah.
He's just yeah, no, people love each other. No one has to be tied down. Fucking do it.
Yeah, exactly. Just that he is, the worst possible. And that whole sequence when she's I want you to kiss me. I don't feel anything. And he's well, there must be somebody else that you like. Well, you should go for them. I think the thing that kind of accentuates how tragic that this whole situation is because she has admitted, that Kazusa is, probably the first person she's ever truly considered a friend. And she wants to help her friend. And she feels and that's why her big thing is she felt betrayed when she thought that, oh, you think that I'm just gonna steal this guy away from you now, like stuff like that.
And then Kazusa like genuinely apologizes for all of it, and
Yeah.
it says that she wants to actually go for him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that moment was like the moment that Sugawara was like, shit.
Yeah, I like that little sequence too at the end when she throws him like the retro keychain of the train, like for two reasons. One, it was a cute little awkward teenage gesture. Two, because like the relevance it had in her past, like she was like that whole sequence of her throwing a ball but not throwing it very far, but then Izumi doing it, and she finally is able to basically throw as far as Izumi was now.
I was worried Izumi was gonna fall out the window. Right
Yeah.
there. He was gonna reach out and catch it and then fall down.
I was worried it was going to fall, like, and he'd have to go, and she would probably get despondent over that.
Yeah.
But no, it was actually handled in a pretty cute way. I liked this episode. Like, everything seems to be revolving around the culture festival, as is typical of any Japanese rom-com.
Yeah. It's gonna reach ahead. That's not gonna be pretty, I feel like.
Yeah.
But that's just part of growing up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that is part of growing up.
So next up is Vinland Saga.
God, this episode was dark.
Oh my god, yeah.
I felt like I never felt more like I haven't felt this bad at like an ending, like just how bleak it was since I fucking watched Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah, just seeing that Thorfinn is so deep in the hole of revenge that he's willing to do anything, and he's almost lost his original. Well, he hasn't lost his original goal.
Mm-hmm.
It's to kill
Askeladd.
Askeladd. It's to kill him, but he refuses to do it unless Askeladd accepts a duel because he doesn't want to soil his father's name.
Exactly.
But the thing is, he's going through this in such a terrible way because he's throwing everyone away. Like I almost feel like if it came to his family at this point, he'd end up like throwing his family away.
I think the most tragic part about that as well is like you could tell like how legitimately guilty he felt. Like he even told her, like the English woman who found him, just run as fast as you can, and tried to get her to get away, like before basically setting the hut on fire and signaling the Vikings to come. Just that entire sequence when she just is watching him on the beach and she's crying. That
realization in her head, like, if I didn't help this kid, if I let him die, then we might have had a better chance against these Vikings.
See, I don't necessarily think it was 100% that. I think it had more to do with the fact that she was just more sad at the fact that a kid was doing something like this, because she made that a point. Like, it's not normal for such a young kid to be a pirate in the first place. So I think she wasn't necessarily crying for her lot in life. She was crying more for his, I think, more than anything else. I think she was just more legitimately upset that such a young boy is doing the things that he's doing, and just what brought him to this point. I think that's more what she's upset about, because because she brought that up before, like, it's not normal for a kid to be a pirate. And also she talks about how it's important to be a good Christian and stuff like that. And I think she was legitimately just pitying this kid. And she legitimately just wanted to help this kid. And unfortunately, it got her killed, but...
Got her and a bunch of other people killed.
Yeah. I think, like, the most bleak part of that is just when Thorfinn, like, sees her just kind of vanish, like, into the crowd, and he just kind of takes a moment, breathes in, literally swallows his emotions, and then runs up with the rest of the crew. That was just like, Jesus.
Yeah. On the action side, this episode was so good.
Yeah.
Just seeing Thorfinn's slow progression to learning his fighting style.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we'd kind of touched on that a little bit last episode when he's figuring out, okay, I can't swing around a big sword, I guess I'll use a dagger. I can throw daggers. And him just, like, gradually getting better with the dagger, like, actually seeing him kill his first person.
Yeah, that I feel so bad for this woman's vocal cords.
Yeah, just Jesus.
She does such a good job with
it's such a visceral, like, animalistic scream.
Yeah. And I really liked the reveal of how he got a second dagger.
He was about to die.
Oh, shit, I should use two. It's better.
Yeah, and then, like, seeing, like, him, like, kind of trying new things in battle, like, switching his daggers around, like, switching out how he holds them, stuff like that. That was all really cool. Like, Thorfinn is a legitimately interesting protagonist. Like, he's a simple protagonist. Like, it's about as simple as you can get. He's just
revenge story.
Yeah, but it's still fascinating. Like,
and there's even the point where he throws the dagger to save Askeladd from being attacked from behind.
Yeah.
And like, it's not just wanting Askeladd to die. It's he has to kill him in a duel.
Yeah, which ironically is what Askeladd is relying on, because he knows that Thorfinn is a good warrior, or he was going to.
He's got the blood of the Troll of Yom, I think his name was.
Yeah, in his veins, and so he's banking on this kid, which is basically what's keeping him kind of chained up to this life in the first place. Which, God, this episode just made it even more bleak, his situation. Like, once again, just seeing him running off into the crowd was just absolutely haunting. Like, ugh, God, I'm not going to get over that image for a while.
Yeah, I think he has an interesting edge in combat. Well, obviously he is like he's a smaller person.
Yeah.
But he's a kid.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of times where people are going to not expect him to be as strong as he is.
Oh yeah, like, and because they even illustrated that when he was just play fighting with his friends, like, he was ridiculously strong for a kid. Like, he was breaking their arms and stuff. But yeah, he's quite strong for such a young kid, and he's also a smaller target. So,
yeah, the Wit Studio, really good at choreography.
Yeah.
And it's just really cool seeing him, like, duck around attacks and
then, like,
jump up and stab people in the throat.
Exactly. That was that entire sequence where he basically just, like, bob and weaves around and stabs him. Yeah. I love this. I loved this episode. I'm loving this series.
But, yeah, like we said earlier, it's just so dark.
Yeah.
Just that ending.
Like, after we finished watching the episode, we just looked at each other and went, wow, that was so dark.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and art-wise, how when he's in the house with the people, his face, his eyes are bigger, and he's kind of like more just relaxed.
Yeah.
But whenever you see him just put all his emotions inside, his eyes get narrower, and he just has like this angry face on him.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was a kind of a sweet moment that eventually turned incredibly sad when you just see like the lady talking to him while she's brushing his hair, like talking about like how she lost a son who would have been his age and stuff like that. It's just like, oh, Jesus, like just make me feel worse about this. But it felt organic enough to where I wasn't like bothered for it. This is how you do tragedy well and do it right. You don't just make it edgy just for the sake of it being edgy.
Oh yeah.
This is dark, like not edgy. There is a difference. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of the Timesink Anime Podcast. It has been I think that this is officially what I would call the climax week, pretty much. Because I think this is where all the major, I think most of the series anyway, all the major events are being set into motion. Like with Vinland Saga finally picking up into what I think it's going to be for that. Maidens setting up for its resolution of everything that's going on. I'd say
it's usually like episode 8 or 9 is when
Yeah.
The big thing happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then everything else is just the resolution. We're kind of approaching the end of Act 2, is basically where I would say it. Or at least for most of the series this season. This is the end of Act 2, finally getting into, like, the climax and resolution.
Intermission, go get your snacks.
Yeah, intermission.
Go take a pee if you have to.
Yeah. Reminds me of that bit from Kung Pao when the intermission part came up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you guys got any comments about what we watched this week, anything you think we should be watching, go ahead and let us know in the comment blah blah blah.
Yeah, follow us on KITSU. You'll find us there in the description. We have our links to our pages.
Talking about all those shows.
Yeah, I write about stuff constantly. I haven't been like writing about random stuff. I've just mainly been doing episode reviews. But anyway, so that's gonna be it for this week. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun watching this season, and I hope you guys are having a great time like we are. Till next time, take care of yourselves.